Hey, everybody. Brian Rundle, Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. How is everybody doing tonight? I am just waiting here a couple seconds so I can hit my go live on Instagram. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. Right now, it is just Brian Rundle, as you can see. We're getting close to the end of the year here. Lana has some family in town, and I know she's got some things going on. And I know Tuesday night is usually our live show, but we have New Year's Eve on Tuesday night, so I don't know what we'll be doing then. But regardless, if you can, as we always say, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can tell whether or not we are on a particular night. At the end of the night, it's a little wonky. We have to figure out exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. So, it does get a little confusing towards the end of the year, but I do appreciate anybody that joined us or joined me tonight. I mean, we are 5 days away until the end of 2024, which for a lot of people means, it's a fresh start to the year, and everybody figures out how they're going to plan their year and change something and do something different. But this coming year, 2025, is going to feel a little different for millions and millions and millions of people. And that is because the worst administration in the history of this country will be taking over in 2025. And that is freaking out a lot of people. There are millions and millions of people that it's not freaking out. They are excited. They cannot wait. And a large part of that is because this whole administration trolls liberals. And that, if you are on the grid, as they call it, if you're anywhere online, which I think in 2025, I'm going to try to find a way to pull off the grid a little bit more. I've already deleted Twitter from my phone. Now, that doesn't mean I'm still not on Twitter, but I've deleted it from my phone. So at least I don't have that access that quickly. And I've deleted it probably 2 weeks ago. And I really have no desire to add it back on. Like I said, when I get home from work, maybe I'll check it out and see what's going on. I'll make some comments here and there. So I'm not completely off the grid, but I have pulled back already a little bit. And my goal is to maybe pull back a little bit more because it's just not healthy and it's not real. It's not real life, as many of you out there know. Now, you can get caught up in a lot of what is being said on Twitter and on social media, and you can immerse yourself in it and it'll drive you absolutely insane. But with the upcoming administration, I'd be honest with you. I mean, if you watched this show at all, or you really watched any social media, or if you watched any, whether it's right or left, you are going to see Donald Trump dominate. I mean, he dominated the news when he wasn't president. So we know what's about to happen in 2025 when he is the de facto president behind Elon Musk. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. But a lot of people are not very excited about this upcoming year, even if they have exciting things coming up, even if they are doing the normal thing you do at the end of the year and you say, this is what I'm going to start on January 1st, 2025. One suggestion I would make is that anything that you have thought about starting in 2025, just start it no matter when it is. It doesn't matter. The date doesn't matter. Always do what you feel is best for you. But anyway, I'm not preaching. It's just a suggestion. And by the way, speaking of suggestions, if anybody in the comment section could let me know, when do you take the Christmas tree down and the lights outside your house? When does that normally happen? Could you please let me know? Normally, I take the Christmas tree down the day after Christmas. That's enough already. We're done. I put it up on Thanksgiving Day. It goes through the day after Christmas and it's gone. But I didn't really have a lot of time to do it tonight, so it is still up. I don't hate the way it looks. I do enjoy the way it looks. But if you have suggestions, let me know. When do you take the tree down? When do you take the lights down? And we'll go from there. But before I start the show, I see a comment from my good friend Little Philosophy, who I've not heard from in a while. So I'd like to answer his comment here. Nope, not about trolling liberals. We're trying to get all parties to see the struggle, the lies, the systematic racism, which is real, but the federal system is what both of us parties have in focus. You've been a while, man, and usually when I would celebrate, I would put Christmas tree down in mid-January, but the decorations stay up till February. Okay, thank you. I mean, that's interesting. I mean, I will say I've seen a lot of people, even in my neighborhood, they leave the decorations up for well after Christmas. So it looks like Little Philosophy is the same. Why do you do that, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? But I want to address your first your first comment. So first of all, there are different factions, like, right, Little Philosophy, and I think maybe you would agree with me. There are different factions of people in politics, on the left, on the right. And what I'm talking about is the far right MAGA people who only care about trolling. Now, you might not be in that particular group. So, and from the conversations I had with you, it doesn't appear as if you're full on MAGA. I do agree that there is systematic racism. However, I do hear a lot of people attribute it to the left, which is incredibly insane. But there are a lot of systematic issues in this country, and it's not just racism. It's the wage gap. There's so many different things in this country that people like myself and Little Philosophy and MAGA and far left and far right are really all on the same page. And that's the saddest part about this whole thing. Donald Trump is doing nothing for any of you or not doing anything for me. President Musk is doing nothing for you. Trust me when I tell you, President Elon Musk has absolutely no interest in making your life better. He only has interest in making his life better. If you've read anything about Elon Musk in his past and his penchant for needing and wanting attention, there are so many people out there, they actually think that he founded Tesla. He had nothing to do with founding Tesla. They think he founded PayPal. He had nothing to do with founding PayPal. What he did was he scammed his way into PayPal. He scammed his way into Tesla, and people think that he created this. And that is one of the biggest problems in this country, is that we put these people on a pedestal like they are gods, and we need to conform and be just like them. And we need to listen to what they say because they're smarter than we are. They aren't smarter than we are. I can tell you, I've been in sales my entire life. And I've dealt with many doctors, and doctors are extremely intelligent people, but that doesn't mean they are smarter than me in many different aspects of life. I can assure you they aren't, because listening to them as they're talking to me during a sales process, I can tell they don't know a lot of things outside of the medical field because they've spent their entire lives just working in the medical field and studying the medical field. They didn't study the outside world, so they don't know a lot about that. Elon Musk has never studied the outside world. Donald Trump has zero clue what the outside world is like. I mean, literally zero clue what the outside world is like. I beg people, I am begging you to go out and get the book if you do read. And if you don't read, start reading. That should be one of your things for 2025, to start reading books. And before I bring this book up, I do want to point out, because I know I will hear people say, "Oh, it's they're biased and they're lying and they just hate Trump." And there are things in this country called liable laws, and you are not allowed to publish a full book about a particular person, about a particular subject full of lies. You're not allowed to do that. You can do it, but you're going to find yourself sued and you will never see yourself publish a book again. And you're going to lose millions and millions and millions of dollars. This book that I read, Lucky Loser, came from 2 New York Times journalists who actually won the Pulitzer Prize about a huge article they wrote about Donald Trump and how he supposedly fooled people into thinking he's some kind of billionaire. This book, if it doesn't make clear for you that he's one of the greatest grifters and one of the dumbest so-called businessmen of all time, then you're either not comprehending the book or you still just don't want to believe anything bad about Donald Trump. But it lays it out very clearly about how he got his start. And if you don't know, he got his start all from Daddy. Daddy led him through this entire thing. When he got his very first project, Daddy set him up. When he went to the next project, he had to go back to Daddy. When he went back to the next project, Daddy, 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 Daddy. Then Daddy died, and then he wound up inheriting hundreds of millions of dollars from Daddy. He is not a businessman. They point out pretty clearly in this book that he has this penchant for basically meeting somebody, hearing what they say, like it, and then hire them without any research, without doing any background checks on them, without doing anything. He's just a simple-minded person, but he convinced the media, he convinced millions of people that he's this brilliant businessman. But there's a lot to the book. It's over 400 pages. I am begging people to go out and get this book if you're really interested to know what kind of so-called businessman Donald Trump is. So we're going to get started with the show, but I want to finish up Little Philosophy's comments because he did say a few things here. I believe the trolling people aren't actual voters, just trolling. I disagree with that. I mean, I think there's certainly the trollers will, there are voters who troll. There's absolutely no question. PayPal is still like that, which is why Ticketmaster does the same. I'm sorry, Little Philosophy, explain to me what we were talking about because maybe I said something and you were responding to that. Barron did that for him basically. Usually how it goes, it's nepotism. Look at LeBron James' son, Bronny. I mean, that's not LeBron James. I mean, kind of it is. I'm sure it is. And, you know, that's really, I mean, that's not the same thing. I mean, first of all, LeBron James is one of the most stand-up human beings in this country as far as we know, because again, we don't know any of these people. I mean, there are so many people that we would have thought were the greatest people in the world, and then you hear news about them, and then you have to change your mind about it. Some of it's true, some of it's not true. We don't know. But as of right now, LeBron James, a man who married his high school sweetheart, has kids with her still, is in literally no trouble off the court and could be considered the greatest player in the history of the NBA. He does so many great things outside of the NBA. LeBron James is not somebody I'm interested in attacking. And on my reservation, it's the same way. The Native American Council acts the same. And I apologize. That might have been in reference to something I talked about. I'm catching up a little bit late, but anyway, happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody had a great holiday. But as always, every single year, we have to listen to the nonsense of the guy that they had make think that he is the president, Donald Trump. He had to tweet out his annual Christmas message. And this is what he tweeted out on his dumb man's version of Twitter, which is True Social. This is what he said. Merry Christmas to all, including the wonderful soldiers of China who are lovingly but illegally operating the Panama Canal, where we lost 38,000 people in its building 110 years ago. always making certain that the United States puts in billions of dollars in repair money, but will have absolutely nothing to say about anything. Also, to Governor Justin Trudeau of Canada, whose citizens' taxes are far too high, but if Canada was to become our 51st state, their taxes would be cut by more than 60%. Their businesses would immediately double in size, and they would be military protected like no other country anywhere in the world. They're already one of our allies. Likewise, to the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes, and who want the U.S. to be there and will. God, this word salad, this is something we're going to have to deal with for 4 more years. First of all, this guy keeps bringing up the Panama Canal. He keeps bringing up Canada like he's going to do something. And unfortunately, we have people in this country that are regurgitating this nonsense that he is going to have anything to do with taking over Canada and making it our 51st state. You guys understand that that's never happening, right? Please tell me you understand that there is no such thing as Canada being the 51st state because Donald Trump said it. And I would ask you too, because I'd ask you, name something that Donald Trump has promised, these bold promises that has come true before. Can you actually name something that he has promised that has come true? If you don't mind, put it in the comment section. You're a good boss. I'll let you make your points. Thank you. A little philosophy. And then he goes on to say on page 2, and by the way, I will also state, Donald Trump has no idea about Canada. He has no idea about the Panama Canal. This is something that somebody is telling him, and he's kind of freewheeling off of what he's been told and then saying nonsense on True Social. But if you actually sat down with Donald Trump and asked him, and I'm more convinced about this after reading the book about Donald Trump and his so-called business acumen, which was zero. I mean, it literally was that bad. I'm going to ask again. Please go get that book, Lucky Loser. And no, I'm not getting paid by the author. I mean, I got 539 subscriptions here. What do you think? Somebody's paying me to say this to the 539 people who are subscribing? And by the way, if you don't mind, can we make it at least 545 tonight? Give me 7 more subscriptions. I'd really appreciate that. And some likes and some shares. That would be great. Yes, Little Philosophy, Lucky Losers. That's the name of the book. Page 2, Lucky Loser. Yeah. Page 2, Merry Christmas to the radical left lunatics who are constantly trying to obstruct our court system and our elections and are always going after the great citizens and patriots of the United States. And he's talking about himself, which he's not. In particular, the political opponent, me, in capital letters. They know that their only chance of survival is getting pardons from a man who has absolutely no idea what he's doing, referring to Joe Biden, who, again, I will say was one of the best presidents of my lifetime. I don't give a flying fuck what anybody else says about that. Also, to the 37 most violent criminals who killed, raped, and plundered like virtually no one before them, but were just given incredibly a pardon by sleepy Joe Biden. I refuse to wish a Merry Christmas to those lucky souls, but instead we'll say, go to hell. We had the greatest election in our history, whatever the fuck that means. I have no idea what he's talking about, of our country. A bright light is now shining over the United States, and in 26 days, we will make America great again. Merry Christmas. So there's Donald Trump's Merry Christmas message. I will ask you, the evangelicals who are out there who look at Christmas as the holiest of holidays. What are your thoughts on Donald Trump's Holy Christmas message? Not one mention of Jesus, not one mention of what the holiday is really about and the spirit about Christmas. Now, I personally don't even believe in Jesus and God. I don't believe in that. But I believe in the spirit of it. I believe in the tree. I put up the lights. I do the thing. And I also believe in the in the spirit, I guess you would say, of God and Jesus and the whole understanding of Christmas. Again, I'm not a believer, but what I do believe is that there are millions, hundreds of millions of people, not just in this country, around the world, who take this and it's very important to them. And for me to crap on that and for me to shit on it, I think would make me a bad human being. And I'm not interested in being a bad human being. I'm interested in allowing the thoughts and things that I don't necessarily believe in. However, if there are things and thoughts that I don't believe in that are detrimental to other human beings, and they're nasty and they're ugly and racist and misogynistic and xenophobic, then I'm 100% against it. And I have absolutely no problem, no problem saying that. But yeah, I mean, anybody, like I said, what are your thoughts out there? What are your thoughts about Donald Trump's message, Christmas message? Again, Christmas is supposed to be something for everybody. And by the way, so is the fucking president of the United States. This idea that he's calling out what he's doing and what he has done successfully with the help of a right-wing propaganda media is that he has turned not just the enemies of this country into enemies, but he's turned people who live in this country into enemies. There are people out there who look at me as an enemy because I do not like Donald Trump. This has nothing to do with Republican and Democrats. There are plenty of things that I could disagree with Republican policy, real Republican policy, but I don't hate them. I don't think they're awful people. I don't think we need to get rid of them. I don't think we need to call them out and call them radical right. But what we see now, this isn't radical right. It's just radical. And it's crazy. And it's insane. And it's going to destroy our country if we do not understand, as I said earlier, we are all in the same boat. All of us. And again, multi-millionaires and billionaires. There are, I think if I read correctly, at least 12 billionaires in this administration coming up. You think they have your best interest. You think a billionaire has your best interest. If you do think that a billionaire has your best interest, please explain to me what exactly the interest is that they have and what it is that you think that they are going to do for you. I'd love to hear that. Let me catch up on a few comments before we move. Hey, Angel, thank you for joining, Angel. Merry Christmas to you. I hope everything's good up there in Alaska. Give the 1% tax cuts. That's exactly what the billionaires care about. They care about the billionaires and them making more money. And President Musk, I assure you, the only thing he cares about is making himself more money. That's another guy. Please go do the research on Elon Musk. Elon Musk's only, his biggest want in life is attention. This guy needs attention, and so does Donald Trump. And that's why this could at some point get ugly, and we'll talk about that here in a little while. But I'll debate against Biden being the best president. For me, he's the worst. I have no problem debating that. Within my lifetime, I'm only 24 as well. Okay, little philosophy. I don't discount somebody because of their age. However, I will ask you, how long have you been following politics? And do you read history? And do you follow up? And do you really keep up with that stuff? Because if your understanding of politics is only from the age of maybe 18, 19, 20, 21 to 24, that's a problem. But if you have an understanding of politics, policy, and how things worked before social media and how things worked before Fox News and cable news and all that nonsense, then I'll welcome a debate either way. But in the spirit we believe in, just not the doctrine, because a lot of stuff we really don't believe in, such as suppression of humanitarian rights. Yep, like you say. For me, my own brother looks at me as an enemy just because of who I vote for. Actually, well, that's sad. And yeah, you're right. It certainly works both ways, and it is difficult to say, because I do believe that there are two totally different. There's two totally different ideals here, and it's tough to explain to the people who voted for Donald Trump why theirs is totally different than ours. And again, we could get into that at another time, because there's a lot to that. But wow, Alaska, wait, he's on the left, but he always comes around and creates trouble. I'm assuming that's your brother, which, brothers, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to cause trouble. And Angel says Elon wants his factory in China to go in overdrive. 100%. Elon Musk is absolutely 100% involved in this, because he wants nothing more than to help China, and he wants to help himself. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic. Vivek Ramaswamy caused some turmoil, it looks like, online when he tweeted out something in regards to hiring engineers for tech companies. This is what he had to say today, and this caused a little bit of a storm, not just on social media, but with a lot of the MAGA people. The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C word, culture. Tough questions demand tough answers. And if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Now, I'm going to read the rest of this, and there are parts of this where I actually agree with Vivek Ramaswamy, but at the end of it, I'm going to tell you where he can go fuck himself. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college. It starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ, or the jock over the valedictorian, will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zach or Slater over Screech in Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel and Family Matters, will not produce the best engineers. That actually is a terrible. And I mean, I don't know if those are the comparisons that I would use, but let's continue. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch those TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity. And their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. I think, in fairness, there are plenty of people who watch Saved by the Bell and were Zach and Slater fans and are wildly successful, but whatever. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends. Now, that I'll 100% agree with, because in my estimation, and this might blow up the chat or anybody that watches this later, but I hate to say this. Okay. This might tune people out, but Friends is the most overrated show in the history of television. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a cutesy show. It was okay, but it wasn't the greatest sitcom of all time. But anyway, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Vivek, I hate to break it to you, but people don't go to the mall anymore. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids. Sorry, I gotta get rid of this banner real quick because I can't see those kids of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids, I read that, with scorn. If you grew up aspiring to normalcy is what you will achieve. So that was what he had to say. Now, there is part of it where I agree with that. Like, I do think that we don't take education in this country seriously enough. And the way I'm reading that people need to focus more with their children on education, because to be an engineer, you can't just not watch Saved by the Bell. You can't just not watch Family Matters. You have to be very well educated. And Vivek Ramaswamy, who my understanding has a degree from both Harvard and Yale, is complaining that in this country that we don't focus enough on culture, which I'm interpreting. And if anybody else is interpreting this the same, or if you're interpreting it different, I'm interpreting that to mean more education. So it is funny. And this is why I said, this is why I'll read this and then tell Vivek to go fuck himself. You have a guy that's got 2 degrees from one Harvard and one Yale. But here he is not too long ago when he's talking about DOGE, the Department of, what is it? Department of Governmental Efficiency, I think it is. Is that right? It doesn't matter. It's a goofy thing. But anyway, here he is talking about cutting different programs, and one of them happened to be the Department of Education.
To close down entire agencies, like President Trump has talked about the Department of Education, for example. Are you going to be closing down departments?
We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government. So yes, we expect all of the above. And I think people will be surprised by, how quickly we're able to move with some of those changes, given the legal backdrop the Supreme Court has given us.
Yeah, he wants to move quickly, and one of those absolutely is the Department of Education. This is not something that he just came up with. This is something that's been talked about for quite some time with the far right, and they are obsessed with eliminating the Department of Education. Basically, what they want is they want to leave it up to the particular states. And they know there are plenty of states out there that will have a particular curriculum for their students that is going to eliminate a lot of the things that will make them more whole people. So in other words, you can already see here in the state of Florida, they want to eliminate Black history from the curriculum in the textbooks. And I'm not talking about taking it out completely. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I don't, I haven't been to school in quite some time, but I know they want to either eliminate or, bring down much of Black history, which I read today, which was pretty cool, that in the state of Florida, since they are doing that here, that there is a large group of students, and I'll have to go back and read up about it, but there's a large group of students that have decided that instead of doing things on Saturday, like playing sports, going to the movies, and going to the mall, as Vivek Ramaswamy says it, that on their Saturdays, they are going to learn about Black history, which is basically a defiance to what they are trying to do to take away from these students of learning. Very important history in this country. But again, going back to Vivek Ramaswamy and the whole MAGA and Donald Trump and President Musk and all these people, you want the Department of Education to be eliminated because you don't want educated people in this country. I played a clip last week of George Carlin's phenomenal bit and routine about the American worker and how that the main people up top, the top 1%, the people who own the businesses, the people who own everything, they don't want you to be educated. They want you to know just enough to make their business successful so they can make more money, pay you less, and make you look like a fool by going around and telling everybody they look out for me, which is absolutely not true. It drives me nuts. And this is where it makes me very upset and it makes me very sad that I have people that want to argue with me that I am on their side. I absolutely want them to understand at some point in their life that these people, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, do not care about you. They don't care about your money. They don't care about your health care. They don't care about your bills. They don't care about your gas prices. They don't care about your fucking eggs. They don't care about any of this stuff. But they are going around and telling you before they get elected, oh, I'm going to bring down the prices of eggs. And then when he gets elected, he says, I can't really do anything about it. Once the prices are up, what can you do? How do you explain that? Explain to me how you voted for the guy who says, I'm going to lower your gas prices, I'm going to lower your eggs, and then after the election says, there's really not much I can do. Please explain that. Explain to me how you are okay with this, how and why you're going to continue with the defense of these people who continue to make clowns out of you. I'm going to build a wall and make Mexico pay for it. No, you're not. I am going to eliminate Obamacare on day one and replace it with something better. No, you're not. You didn't do that. And by the way, why would anybody out there rail against the Affordable Care Act? What do you have about against the Affordable Care Act? I mean, you guys, help me out, please. You got to help me out. Help me understand this, because the fight that I'm having is for, and when I say me, I don't mean me as in, I'm having it, me personally having it for everybody. I'm just talking about the fight that anybody that thinks like me, I forget about liberal or Democrat or whatever the fuck, that all of us are on the same boat. Explain to me where I'm wrong. Explain to me why Elon Musk and Donald Trump has my best interest. I think I've done enough research. I have been following this bullshit for 25 years. And I've said this a million times. I promise you, I don't know everything. And none of us do. And I can assure you, the person that thinks he's the president-elect Donald Trump, he knows nothing. He knows nothing. People tell him things, and then he creates his own script. And when he creates his own script, it sounds batshit crazy, but to 70 plus million, it sounds genius. I don't understand it. I never will understand it. This has nothing to do with Republican. This has nothing to do with Democrat. This has nothing to do with, you just hate Donald Trump. Anyway, explain it to me. I don't know. Somebody explain it to me. Catch up on some of the, before I move on to, well, first of all, wait, by the way, I want to go back. But before I get to the comments, I want to, so President Musk chimed in too after Vivek Ramaswamy's tweet. It says, no, we need to more like double that number yesterday. And this is talking about the engineers from other countries. And by the way, this is what Vivek Ramaswamy was talking about, is that he wants to take people from other countries, bring them over here because they're more efficient when it comes. And by the way, this is the other reason why I want to tell Vivek Ramaswamy to go fuck himself, because for a couple reasons, that you want to take people and you want to bring them over here from other countries to work in the tech industry because they're better at it than people in America. Well, here's why I want to tell you to go fuck yourself for two reasons. One, this is immigration. You want to bring people over here because you want them to work the jobs that you want them to work. The second reason why I want you to go fuck yourself and everybody else in the MAGA sphere is because you are the ones who every day are railing against big tech. Now all of a sudden you want the smartest people around the world to come over and work for big tech. What the fuck are we talking about? This is why it drives me insane to listen to these people. None of them have a specific point. They're just all over the place, and they don't care when they rail against one thing and then they speak out of the side of their mouth on the other thing, and they just go, I don't care, because these people are going to follow us no matter what we say, no matter what we do. We tell them that we're going to, what the hell are you? There's nobody. This is my dog. There's nobody. There's nobody. There's nobody out. Steffi. Give me a couple more seconds. All right. Hey, Steph. This way. All right. Good job. You got him. She got him. All right. Good job, Steffi. I am so sorry, guys. And I was in the middle of a rant. And okay. See, she's upset too. Steffi Graf. I named my dog Steffi Graf, by the way. We in our family have a tradition of naming our pets after sports people. My cat is Ray Lewis, and my dog is Steffi Graf. So, but anyway, she's part German Shepherd, and I grew up a tennis fan. I love Steffi Graf. So, but anyway, I just need somebody to explain to me when they say one thing like we don't want immigrants, and I know they say, we just want them to come in. We don't want open borders, which, by the way, there's no such thing as open borders. Open borders do not exist. There's no such thing as open borders where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just sit back in the office and they go, people are coming into the United States, so just let them. That doesn't exist. It has never existed with any president ever anywhere. And by the way, with all presidents, in this country, we have had deportations of criminals with every president. That includes Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. There have been deportations since I've been alive in this country. So this idea that there is no that we're just letting people in and we're allowing them to murder our citizens, that doesn't happen. The number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in the USA is far too low. Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win. So basically what he's saying is, hey, guys, we need to bring in more talented brown people, or we need to bring in more talented people from other countries because this country really isn't cutting it. But what did we do? Didn't we vote in the guy who thinks he's president, Donald Trump, because everything's America first, and we're really becoming a nationalist society? We're really becoming all American, and all our jobs are supposed to be American. All the people who are born here, they're all supposed to be, because isn't that why we're deporting a lot of these immigrants? Because they're taking our jobs? Again, where do we stand on this, MAGA? If you're a MAGA person, where are we standing? Do we want to import do we want to bring in people from other countries to work the engineering jobs that, I don't know. I'm certainly there are plenty of people in this country that have gone to school and gone to college and gone to programs that have made them great engineers. Isn't that taking their job? So again, I just need explanation on how all this works, because I'll admit when I'm confused. I really don't understand why this is something that we are going to accept when the whole idea is that keep all these people out of our country. In fact, the ones that are here, get rid of them and stop letting people in our country because they're taking my job. The guy who didn't graduate 10th grade is pissed off that his job as somebody that is picking grain or picking, I don't know, in the farmer market, whatever. They're mad that their job's being taken. But I assure you, if they wanted to go get any of those jobs, they certainly could. But anyway, this next one is Elon Musk was somebody I think argued about him, said, your understanding of the situation is upside down and backwards. Of course, my companies and I would prefer to hire Americans, and we do, as that is much easier than going through the incredibly painful and slow work visa process. In other words, he's saying the only reason why he's hiring Americans over people from other countries is because of the work visa process. However, there's a dire shortage of Americans. Damn it, I got to move this again. However, there's a dire shortage of extremely, this little box is in the way, talented and motivated engineers in America. So this is, again, him trying to convince people that it is better to hire people from other countries and to bring them in for these engineering jobs. And by the way, again, as I brought up before, that the whole MAGA sphere rails against the big tech companies. So I don't know. This is going to get interesting. There's a guy named DC Drano. I'm sure a lot of you people in the MAGA sphere understand who he is, or if you are on the grid and you follow a lot of this stuff, especially on Twitter, you know he is an influential voice on the right. And this was his tweet in response to Vivek and Elon Musk's proposal that how did Doge go from let's cut wasteful government spending to here's why we need to import more immigrants almost overnight? Did I miss something? What's next? Gun control? No more oil drilling, which, by the way, we are drilling more oil than we ever have in the history of this country. Back the truck up here, y'all, and get back to the main mission. Cut spending and deregulate. That's it. So you're already, first of all, these people haven't even taken office yet. We still have, 25 days until this shit show starts. And we are already seeing this ridiculousness looming over us. And this is not going to be pretty, I assure you, as time goes on. And we're going to get into a little bit more about how the dynamic between President Musk and his spokesperson, Donald Trump, is going to, how that's going to materialize over time. Because again, we're not even in the administration yet. And there are already some factions that are splitting from each other, and they are trying to figure out how they're going to move forward in this administration. And it's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to get into that in a minute, but let's catch up on a couple of the comments. Let me go back here. I always like catching up on the comments because if you're nice enough to comment, I do want to, let's see. Angel says that they need to read up on U.S. government, economy as to economy. I will say that there is a lot of reading that needs to be done in this country. I've been doing a lot of reading lately. And in fact, that is something that I am committing myself to, because I am the guy that will buy a book. I will read half of it and then I will put it down and I won't touch it again for a very long time. And I have a hard time finishing books. However, I will say that I have finished 3 books over the last month and a half, and I've got 4 more to read, and I am committed to reading all 4 of those. But a lot of them are political books. A lot of them are about U.S. history. And a lot of them are self-help books. There's a couple of them I would like to recommend to you by the end of the show. Little Philosophy says that I'd say 12 years old when I focused on politics, but I visit Middle Eastern Mexican places a lot, and I'm Native American, so I can mix in with a lot of different people, and I ask them what's up. Well, it sounds to me like you have a different perspective than a lot of people, so I would imagine that a lot of your opinions on some of these things are certainly valid. I think everybody's opinion, well, not everybody's opinion is valid because some people's opinions are based off of nonsense. But you've visited some places and you are Native American, so there are, I'm sure, a lot of things that you can add. Angel laughed at something that happened probably when Steffi went nuts. From my experience, the people in the restaurants, whether it's Muslim, Christian, or Catholic, they all agree with the right, but they hate how the migrants are treated with wages. I mean, when you say they all agree, that's a pretty broad statement. I don't think everybody agrees on everything. I mean, hell, the most bizarre thing that I see so many in the Jewish community. There are more people in the Jewish community that vote Democrat, but you have this faction of the Jewish community that absolutely hates Democrat. I mean, they just hate them. So everybody doesn't agree on everything. I mean, there's, you see so many people in different, Lana and I talk about this. People in the Black community, you have most of the people in the Black community just statistically vote Democrat, but you have people in the Black community that do not vote Democrat and they just don't like Democrats. So based on what you said, it's clear. Not all agree with everything. And I think you understand what I'm saying. No wonder why the U.S. students' SATs are down from the 60s to 90s, Brian. No question. I mean, I do believe that education is the most important thing in this country. Getting rid of the Department of Education is one of the dumbest things that we can do. And I assure you, this country needs education now more than ever. Yes, I understand that there may be parts of the curriculum that some parents have some issues with. But you know what? I grew up in the 80s. I went to school, elementary school, junior high school, and high school throughout the 80s. And we've had the same curriculum. Everything's fine. You don't need to get rid of anything. You really don't. I mean, everybody's just going nuts with this dumb shit. Most likely that Black History thing is a cash grab for the school council. People didn't like the Affordable Care Act because it messed up their premiums by hundreds. Actually, if you look, the statistics shows that it brought down premiums. I'll say that the 70 million feel that way due to the current administration. Sorry, I'm catching up on some things. I am sure you and I got a better education than today's city school systems give their kids. Well, I think that's clear. In fact, I think, unfortunately, the education system is coming from podcasters who are unqualified and unregulated. And I think too many people are getting their information and their political information and education from these ridiculous idiots like Joe Rogan and the Nelk brothers and even people like Dan Bongino. I bring this up all the time. Ben Shapiro. Now, a lot of these people are smart people, but they understand their audience. And they understand that even if they know what they're saying is either egregious, not necessarily true, or innuendo, they make more money when you can anger people than when you can educate people. That's the saddest part about this country. And that just isn't in right side politics. That's in all media right now. If you can anger people and you can keep them engaged by feeding into their anger, that's where the money is. They don't care about who's elected at the end of the day. They really don't. I don't care what any of you say. Maybe people specifically, personally on MSNBC care. People specifically and personally on CNN and Fox News care who's elected. But overall, those networks, the owners of those, they don't give a shit. Because you know what they're going to do? They're still going to cover what is going to make them the most amount of money. That's why for 4 fucking straight years, we still heard about Donald fucking Trump, whether it be on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. And this is the problem with our American media, because when you cover him for so long and you try to be fair to Donald Trump and you try to play both sides, what we do now is we create normalcy of a guy who is a convicted felon. And don't give me this argument that he's not a convicted felon. I'm not listening to this nonsense because you heard one batshit crazy lawyer said, technically, he's a convicted felon. I'm not having that stupid argument with you. You know what else he is? He is liable for sexual assault. I'm not having that argument with you either. You could fill up my comment section for the next hour. I don't care. I'm not even going to respond to it because he 100% is a convicted felon and he 100% was found liable for sexual assault. I don't need to hear why. I don't need to hear what city it was in. I don't need to hear about the jury was bogus because it was in New York. Don't bother me with that bullshit because you're convincing yourself that he's not. I'm not convincing myself that he is because a jury found him liable. A jury found him guilty. So I don't need to convince myself. The jury who sat in the courtroom every single day and listened to the entire testimony of both sides, the defense and the prosecution, came out in both of those cases and said liable and guilty. So don't even bother me because I was saying maybe you aren't. Maybe you aren't. Listen, I'm getting all worked up maybe for nothing. But just in case, I'm letting you know, don't bother me with that nonsense because 100% he was liable and guilty on both. Hell no, Musk will never be president. Elon Musk, little philosophy, I hate to tell you, currently is the president. Donald Trump has zero idea what he's doing. He's never had any idea what he's doing. And again, this will be reiterated and solidified if you read the book Lucky Loser. I'm begging you to please go out and read that book because you will understand that Donald Trump knows nothing. He didn't know anything about real estate. He didn't know anything about business. He didn't know anything about anything other than his ego and putting his names on buildings and making sure that he was in the newspaper every single day being called a billionaire. That was his whole motivation. That was it. The people around him make him think he's president. You know, it's like a old grandpa kind of thing. And they're like, yeah, grandpa, you're still the boss. You're still in charge of everything. Kind of like what Trump did with his dad later in his dad's years, which you will find out what a scumbag he was with his own father. But why not educate our kids so they can be those why not educate our kids so they can be those tasks or work those jobs? You know, I assume that's what you mean. And again, that's what we need to do. Education is the most important thing that we have in this country. Or on a work visa, they are granted. This happens in Mexico too, bro. Yeah, but as he's saying, he's talking about the work visas. He's talking about how difficult it is to get these work visas. So, again, he'd much rather hire those people if it was easier to do that than it would be to hire Americans because he doesn't think that Americans are as good at the job as people who are from another country. That even may be true. Who knows? I don't know because I don't work in the tech industry and I don't work with engineers. But I would imagine that we have plenty of talented engineers in this country. But again, it's a pretty bold thing for one guy who's Indian and another guy who wasn't even born in this fucking country to tell the Americans that they're not good enough to work these smart jobs while people from other countries are. That's when Doggy was... I think that's when my little baby girl went nuts. Basically, they let people go around ports of entry. I've seen the video. They don't let them do that. Come on, man. They just don't let them do that. So you're telling me the border control or the border patrol is inept? Do you think that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris went up to the border patrol and said, if you do anything to stop these people from coming in, they're threatening them? Is that what you're telling me? That doesn't happen. And you know what else? Here's what I need in my life for anybody watching, and I hope you're the same. I need proof. I need proof that these things are happening. Don't give me your 10-second clip of video, just like you had people try to convince me that January 6th wasn't a real thing because police officers were opening the door and letting them in. I don't care if you have a clip of one police officer who might have been scared for their lives because they already saw what happened to other police officers, said, it's probably better to open the door. And I don't even know if that's the case, but you could surmise that that's a possibility. So when you show me a 10-second clip and you're trying to convince me that January 6th wasn't a real thing because you saw one police officer open a door and let people in, again, that's not proof to me that there was some big scam about how the Department of Justice and the FBI and all these people were in on it because you had a 10-second clip of a police officer opening their door and going, listen, I don't want to have happen to me what happened to those police officers. I saw plenty of other things prove that day was an absolute disaster, a disgrace, and Donald Trump should never be called president because of that particular day, ever. And I can list numerous other reasons why. The Mexican army isn't on the border. I've seen the same cars show up and drop off dozens of people across the border. The Mexican army doesn't care. The Border Patrol lets them in. Little philosophy, the border has been an issue for decades, way before you were born. Way before you were born. And there are numerous stories that people can tell that you just told there. So maybe you're saying this in the further comments, but explain to me, are you suggesting that they are letting them in because the administration is forcing them to let them in? And if there is, where's the proof? Run radio show at Run's House podcast at gmail.com. If you have specific proof of that, and I'm not talking about a 10-second video, I'm talking about a full investigation. Like I just told you about a book called Lucky Loser, 400 pages of years of investigation, of tax returns, of interviews, of people talking specifically about the subject, gives me an idea, and it was published by a major publication, gives me the idea that there is specific proof that Donald Trump is a bullshit artist and was never a great businessman. So I need something to that effect. It doesn't even have to be a 400-page book. I would take a 1,000-word article that lays out specifically where Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the administration went up to Border Patrol and said, you are to let these people in this country because that's what we believe in. We believe in anybody coming into this country whenever the fuck we want them to, even though Kamala Harris is the one, when she was running for president, said that she was going to reinstate the border bill that Donald Trump himself said, no, we're not doing. You know why we're not doing it? Because it is not politically good for me. I need to be able to run on that. There was a border bill in place when Joe Biden was president. And if you want to criticize the amount of years it took to get to that point, then I'll listen to you. But I'm still not going to listen to you if you're going to tell me that prior to that bill that Joe Biden was just letting people in. That's absurd. It's ridiculous. And the problem with that is there is zero proof. Zero. None. He's not wrong at all. There's a reason Indian Sikhs have become the richest in our demographics. The Indian Sikhs have brought 2 places of worship in my neighborhood. Nobody complains. Let's see. Would you ever make a book? What do you mean? Would I make a book? You mean, would I write one? I don't know if I have the capacity to write a book. If that's what you're asking. Yeah, I didn't say all. I said from my experience, boss. I don't mind hearing about your personal experience, because personal experiences go a long way. Now, some people can misinterpret their own personal experiences if they feel like it. I'm not saying that you necessarily would do that, but personal experiences do go a long way. If you can anger them or make them paranoid, this is why I come back to this podcast. Are you saying that that's what I do? You actually sound exactly like my brother, the one who's not talking to you. I'm talking to you, pal. I would never not talk to you. Liable versus guilty. Same thing. It is the same thing. Again, that's not a rabbit hole I'm going down. If you're going to sit here and try to convince me that there is some difference between liable and guilty, and because that there is, let's say you even have a modicum of a reason why they are different, that's not changing my mind of the outcome of the case against E. Jean Carroll. I don't give a fuck what you call it. It doesn't matter to me. Liable, guilty, and I'm careful not to use the word guilty, because I'm not allowing anybody to try to use this argument with me, even though technically he was guilty of it. Preponderance of evidence versus actual indefiable evidence. Yes, no, it's easy to get the work visa, especially if you're Mexican. Well, not according to Elon Musk, it's not. He says it right there in his tweet there. The Border Patrol is not inept. They're told what to do, boss man. Again, if you have proof of that, please let me know. I am absolutely happy. Not JRE, sorry, but J6 is complete precedent still due to this administration, and the FBI knew this would happen because they know how inept the administration would be. Again, proof. I need proof. Yeah, my dad's a Mexican immigrant. He's never seen it this easy before. I don't. So what are you saying? That are you saying that your dad, he's in the country, I assume? And also, are you saying that he's talking to people and they're coming in saying, yeah, they just let me right in? Again, you might be misinterpreting your dad, but again, at the end of the day, I need specific proof that this is happening. Yes, Border Patrol was ordered to cut barbed wire down by Texas National Guard. Now you're mixing 2 different things. By the Biden administration. Then before they sued Arizona, Texas for those shipping containers. Okay, see, again, you're not going to fool me into bringing up 2 different things. What you're talking about is something that was deemed cruel, to have a barbed wire, to really injure and maybe kill the people who are coming over. That's not the same thing as just letting people in. So come on, man. Don't try to fool me on that. Let's I don't mind having a discussion and any kind of debate, but if you're trying to bring up one thing to make your point on another, it's not the same thing. You know that. I know you know that. All right, let's finish up on the comments, and then we're going to move on to the next thing. No, there's a reason Hispanics voted this way, because we never seen it this way. There was always barbed wire. That was the old fence, bro. And no, you can't fool me. My dad knows the border. You don't. Okay, well, again, I'm not going to argue with you about what your dad knows. But what I will argue with you about is, again, if you're trying to convince me that the Biden administration and Harris or anybody else said to Border Patrol or said to anybody else that if you bother anybody from coming into this country and you do anything to stop them, that we will have you arrested, we will punish you, we will fire you, whatever the case is. Show me at least, because you figured there'd be Border Patrol agents who would be out there spilling their guts. Now, again, I'm not really sure how much you could trust that, because there are biased people out there that try to make other people look bad. I would need to see evidence that this is happening. So far, I've seen zero evidence this is happening. But what I have seen over my years of following politics is that the border has been an issue for decades. And there has not been one president to be able to figure it out, not even Donald Trump, because by the time he got in office, when he was doing things that were deemed unconstitutional, once those things were overturned, the border crossings quadrupled under his administration. In 2019, they blew up. The only reason why they went back down in 2020 is because he was actually able to put in laws based on the pandemic that happened in this country that were legitimate. But if you also want to do some more research, you would know that border crossings are down more now than at some points during the Trump administration. So again, this idea that there's open borders does not exist. But I do want to move on to the next topic here. This MAGA on MAGA crime. You know, we talked about DC Drano is now calling out Doge, and you're seeing some of the factions starting to break here. And one of the people in MAGA land is this batshit crazy Looney Tune, Laura Loomer. So if you don't know who Laura Loomer is, she is a full-on MAGA nut. And she has positioned herself somehow into becoming very close with Donald Trump. Now, she was close with Donald Trump leading up to the election. And I think people around Donald Trump started to tell him that she could be a problem, that she's a little bit too nutty. And there's certainly some rumors going around about Donald Trump and Laura Loomer. I personally don't get into those salacious details. Again, I need proof. So that's not something I'm interested in, moving forward on. That's for other places. But anyway, she was seen with him many times leading up to the election. And she ran for a House seat once here in the state of Florida. She lost badly. She broke down in tears, very uncomfortably, very just nutty. But she is not very thrilled with President Musk, and she is calling out President Musk. And again, we haven't even started this clown show that is starting in 25 days. It hasn't even started yet, but you would think that it already has based on watching the news, because this is all you see. You're going to see for the next 25 days and 4 years, this shit show that is about to hit this country. Laura Loomer is not happy with President Musk, and she just went completely off in response to Elon Musk saying that Laura Loomer is just trolling and please ignore her. This is what she had to say to President Musk. Telling the truth isn't trolling. Read the room, Elon. You bought your way into MAGA 5 minutes ago after Trump almost had his head blown off in Butler. Remember when you voted for Biden and propped up Governor Ron DeSantis and you said Trump was too old? We all know you only donated your money so you can influence immigration policy and protect your buddy Xi Jinping. You pretend like you have made such a sacrifice and investment donating to Trump and buying X, but you have only increased your own wealth and the wealth of your companies by practically invading Mar-a-Lago while trying to become Trump's side piece. So Laura Loomer and Elon Musk are going at it. And she also tweeted later, she says, don't worry that the divorce is coming soon, which she means between President Musk and his spokesperson, Donald Trump. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shapes out. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu and Elon Musk had a meeting, and it turns out that this clip is going around. And I think this clip was from last year, but they kind of were joking about Elon Musk being the president. Here's what they were talking about. They were at a meeting, and they were supposed to be discussing anti-Semitism on Twitter, but this was an interesting clip when they were talking about it the first time.
So if you were, well, you can't be president of the U.S. Last time I checked, right? But assume you are.
Not officially.
Not officially. Okay, so you're the unofficial president.
So I will say, and I bragged about this last week, and I am happy to brag about this because I'm not saying I'm smarter than everybody. I'm not saying that I'm an absolute genius. What I am saying is that sometimes I am in tune on things that are happening and things that are going on. I promise you on my life, I have never heard anybody say they should start calling him President Musk, and that'll drive Donald Trump insane. I played a clip that I had said that 2 weeks ago. Last week, I started seeing a lot of people in the media and a lot of people on the Democratic side starting to call him President Musk. And I said to myself, well, obviously they were watching Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest because they heard me say it. Even though I have 538 subscribers, which I'm hoping at this point, I have at least 545. And I will tell you guys, it's not easy to get subscribers. It's easy to get likes. It's easy to get comments for sure. I get plenty of comments, and a lot of them generally are not happy with what I have to say. But subscriptions are not easy to get in this. And, you know, maybe the show's not that great. I don't know. Maybe it's okay, but not good enough to say, hey, I'm going to subscribe. But I'm hoping that as time goes on, a few stragglers come along and they go, it's not bad. I mean, it's good enough for me to subscribe to the show. So enough people have subscribed to where maybe they were sharing it to friends and family, and it got to people like Adam Kinzinger and other people in Congress who started calling Elon Musk the president. And I am here to tell you that is brilliant strategy. Now, it's immature and it's ridiculous that we have to use this kind of strategy. But the reason why we can use this strategy is because we have a ridiculous, immature baby that was elected president, and that is Donald Trump. And again, we haven't even started this administration yet, and it's already starting to get to him. You can hear it because here he is the other day at one of these stupid far-right conferences talking about President Musk.
Over 2,000 units, it's a lot. And they flooded it with Starlink, and it was so good. It saved a lot of lives, so we want to thank him. But no, he's not going to be president, that I can tell you. And I'm safe. You know why? He can't be. He wasn't born in this country.
Oh, poor Donald. No, he wasn't born in this country. You are absolutely correct. And he technically cannot be president. However, he's calling the shots. And you know why he's calling the shots? Because just like you did, do you remember Donald Trump's administration between the years 2017 and 2021? Unfortunately and sadly, some people don't remember those years because they thought it was a good idea to bring him back. But if anybody does remember those years, how did he run his presidency in many different times and many different ways? He ran it through social media, and he did it on Twitter. I mean, he was the first Twitter president. He literally was on Twitter numerous times a day, and that's how he got his message out more than any other way. I mean, this guy literally daily, numerous times a day, got his message out by tweeting on Twitter. Well, I think you know where I'm going with this. Now, Elon Musk, our current president, not only is he on Twitter constantly, not only is he tweeting out policy and ideas, but he owns Twitter. He owns the place. And he gets to dictate on his own platform who gets to see what and what they get to see and how they get to see it and how many times they get to see it. Donald Trump's not on Twitter anymore. Do you know why? Because he owns his own dime store Twitter now called True Social. And he can't go to Twitter because if he goes to Twitter, all the money that he's got in his stupid stock on that stupid platform that he has is going to tank. So he's kind of in a bind. So his message isn't getting out nowhere near as much as President Musk's message is getting out. So his message is going to resonate more with way more people because way more people are going to see what he has to say instead of Donald Trump. That's just the way the world works now. You think people are rushing to their TV to watch fucking C-SPAN to see the press briefings? They don't. You think they watch the news to hear what Donald Trump had to say that day? They don't. Not even Fox News. Even their ratings are down. Yeah, they still have the highest ratings of all the batshit crazy news channels, but they're not watching it the way they used to watch it. They're going to podcasts and they're going to social media like Twitter. Twitter dominates the social media landscape when it comes to news. Dominates it. I mean, absolutely dominates it. And yeah, they've lost millions of people on that platform, but it doesn't matter because the people who voted for Donald Trump, they're on Twitter. They're not on True Social the same way they are on Twitter. Not even close. And in some respects, some people might see Elon Musk as a smarter person than Donald Trump. And sometimes you bring up Elon Musk's name and they're like, I'm fine with Elon Musk being president. Which means you have no idea what you're talking about. But really, this is what's happening. Elon Musk is the de facto president. And again, as loony Laura Loomer says, she says, the divorce is coming soon. We haven't even started the marriage yet. We haven't even been, it's not even wedding day yet. These two are not even at the altar yet. And we're already talking about divorce. There's a song that says that in there. On my own. Yeah. Michael McDonald and Patti LaBelle. On my own. And they talk about we're married, having me married, and we're already talking divorce. Something like that. Back me up on that, somebody. It's a great song, by the way. Sad song. But yeah, we haven't even started the marriage yet, and we're already talking divorce. And this is not going to be pretty because you have two dueling egos that really have similar backgrounds. They have rich daddies that got them to the position that they're in. They scammed their way into businesses and made people think that they are these geniuses. Now, Elon Musk has some intelligence about things. That I'll give him. He does have some intelligence about things. Donald Trump has none about anything. Donald Trump is brilliant at making people who are mid-intelligence to low intelligence, he's got them believing that he's a genius. And I assure you that he's not. Lucky Loser. I'm going to bring it up again. Please read that book. And it's not just Lucky Loser. There's numerous documentaries. I would watch Donald Trump documentaries after you read the book, and it's going to reinforce and reiterate what I'm saying. And by the way, again, if any of this was not true, Donald Trump is the most litigious person on the planet. He would sue you for anything. And in fact, read the book. He sued people because they said things about him in his newspaper articles. He got his feelings hurt that they said, yeah, you're not really a billionaire, or this project that you're doing, there's no way you can sustain it based on the way you purchased it. And he got his feelings hurt so bad that he sued people. Bill Maher said that he would give him $1 million if he could prove his dad's not an orangutan. And he sued Bill Maher over that. I mean, trust me, Donald Trump would sue anybody if you said anything that hurt his little feelings, because he does have little feelings. He's a very sensitive, little-minded male. He just is. And I cannot believe that there are 76 million people who don't see that. I just don't understand it. I don't understand how that is possible. Little philosophy, maybe you can explain to me how that's possible, because you seem to be a Trump guy. Let's catch up on the comments before we go here. Anybody, by the way, feel free to comment. If you don't want to comment on the show or during the show, comment on the videos after they come out, or send me an email if you have any questions, comments that you'd like to discuss on the show. Another thing that I'm going to try to start doing, little philosophy, you might be interested in this. Follow me on TikTok. I see a lot of these lives that people go on where you can actually debate people and you can have discussions and do that. So if you want to have discussions, we could do that on TikTok Live. Unfortunately, I don't really have an outlet to do it here. I can invite people up as guests individually, but I think it would flow better on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok. I might try to start doing that a little bit more so we can have more discussions about that. Little Philosophy says, why aren't they spilling their guts then? Who are you talking about? I'm talking about the Border Patrol agents. Why aren't they not spilling their guts? The gross barbed wire fence, what border crossings aren't down you? Wait, what border crossing aren't down you laughing? They absolutely are down. I mean, that's just a simple Google search. You can find that out yourself. Man, come on, bro. You can't lie to me like that, like the feds do. This is the bad part about catching up on the comments, because sometimes I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. It really does feel like a clown show with politics. That 100% you and I can agree with. And I will tell you, really the clownish part, and I'm not saying that politics has always had its share of ridiculousness, right? No matter what era we're talking about. But the clown show, the real clown show, really started when cable news started coming around. And I'm not talking about CNN. When CNN first came around, CNN was a very useful tool for this country, because basically what it was an outlet to give you breaking news at the time that it happened. And you had actual journalists report the news, and then they'd move on to the next story. They'd move on to the next story. If it was a major breaking news, there were real journalists and real people who were following the story that could give you the facts about the story and then move on. But now news has become $1 billion industry. So what does that mean? You have to basically change your whole structure, because unfortunately, as we stated earlier in this program, they're not interested in the education part about the news. They're interested now in the entertainment part about the news. And where did we get the entertainment part about the news? It wasn't CNN, I hate to tell you. It was when Fox News first started coming around. That's when the entertainment part of the news came around, because there is a documentary, and maybe I'll put it in the comments below or in the description below later on, because I don't remember the name of it, but it had to do with people who worked at Fox News, and they would tell everybody the strategy through Fox News. And part of the strategy is that they would use a lot of innuendo. And instead of stating facts, they would say things on their broadcast that people would accept as facts because it was used through innuendo. And one of the big lines that they would always use, that they still use to this day, is People are saying that was something that they said that as they worked for Fox News, they exposed that, yes, that was one thing that you were to say when you were on air, because if you say people are saying, you don't necessarily need to say what people are saying it, because the inclination and the insinuation is that people in the know, people, real people in journalism or real people who are in politics are saying this, when it could have just been some douchebag in the break room who said it. And legally, you can't say anything. If fucking Phil in the break room said that that the FBI was responsible for January 6th, well, they're absolutely correct. People are saying it. But when you say that on TV, on what's supposed to be a major news network, people take that as fact. So that's what happened in this country. Fox News started the clown show. And then Fox News's ratings went through the fucking roof. Do you know why? Because it became entertainment. People are more interested in entertainment than they are actual education. The education and the real story is boring. But if we can make it entertaining, now ratings go through the roof. So what does CNN do? They're like, oh shit, we're not entertaining enough. We're too straight-laced. What we need to do now is we need to find our form of entertainment. So they get these 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock shows, and they fill them with these panelists. And then they realize, what's the entertainment part of it? Screaming at each other, disagreement, yelling at each other. So now we need to find our form of entertainment. We don't do it nowhere near as good as Fox News. And I don't know if we're ever going to be able to do it near as good as Fox News, because on our side and on CNN, we're explaining both sides. We have somebody like Scott Jennings and we have people from the other side, and they're talking to each other. But Fox News, it's all one-sided for the most part. 85 to 90% of it's all one-sided. And that one-sided place leads to more entertainment for the people who watch that, because it resonates more with them. It resonates, the anger that they get while watching Fox News is it resonates. And you know what else happens? The people who disagree with Fox News, they go and watch it too, because the anger part of it, it makes them angry. And for some reason, people in this country love being angry. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you want to be angry. People say to me all the time, they're like, oh, you just want to gravitate towards your side. So this has nothing to do with my side, but I'm not going to sit there all day and listen to Sean fucking Hannity and Jesse Waters and Laura Ingraham spew this absolute ridiculous nonsense so it can make me angry. The fuck do I want to sit there and do that for? I'm on Twitter enough. I already told you I backed off of Twitter. 2025 is going to be different with this guy, at least on the news part of it. But I'm not interested in sitting around being angry about what other people have to say. And now I'm interested in if I do have anger, my anger comes from how it's going to affect not just me, but loved ones from other groups that I care about, whether I know them or not, marginalized groups, people who have a harder time defending themselves. Does that anger me? Yeah, it sure does. You know what else angers me? It angers me that my fellow Americans, like some of them, literally hate me because I don't like Donald Trump and I disagree with what he has to say. And I side with the Democratic side, the liberal side, whatever it is you say. I've said this a million times. I don't give a fuck about sides. I don't care about liberal, Democrat. I don't care about that. However, if we have factions in this country and they have a particular label to their name, and one side is I'm in agreement with what they have to say for the most part, not everything. And the other side is absolutely batshit crazy. And they are elected on lies, and they are elected on things that are just not true. It's easy for me to say what side I'm on, even though I don't like the side thing. I really don't. I don't think any American should take sides. When I said this before, we're really all in the same boat. I mean, you got an oar, I got an oar. We're in a boat. We got to oar this shit together. You're fucking taking your oar and bashing me over the head with it because I say I don't like Donald Trump. It's not that I don't like Donald Trump because I just randomly don't like somebody. I don't like what this man stands for. I never have. I mean, even before he was president, I've read about this guy numerous times before he was president. And I remember I was sort of different. I would say growing up, like all my friends, they were all Mike Tyson fans. And early on, I was a Mike Tyson fan when he was an actual boxer. If you guys follow boxing, when he was an actual boxer, Customato was his trainer. And Customato took this kid in and not only made him one of the greatest boxers of all time at that time, but he made him into a good kid. I mean, he was a good kid, you know, and he came from a very troubled background. So it was very difficult to do what he did with Mike Tyson. Customato died. And after he died, unfortunately, he surrounded himself with really bad people, Don King being one of them. And Don King did nothing but rip him off. He didn't know. But during that time, Mike Tyson became a terrible human being, horrible. And because of the entertainment that Mike Tyson brought to so many people, they overlooked how terrible of a human being he was. I didn't. I was one of the very few that hated Mike Tyson when he became that person that he was becoming. When he got knocked out by James Buster Douglas, I was celebrating while everybody else was like, I can't believe my Mike Tyson got beat. That sucks. That sucks. I said, nah, fuck that. Good. He deserves to get knocked out, especially the way he was acting. He was out of control, and I just didn't like him. Donald Trump is Mike Tyson. Now, I will say one thing about Mike Tyson. I listen to him now. First of all, he's a very bright individual, and he seems to be a very humbled human being over the years. And so there is a part of me that has a different opinion of Mike Tyson than I did back then. I know there was a thing that he went through. He will swear up and down to this day that he didn't do it. But one thing I will say is I'm not going to say he did it or he didn't do it. Although, again, you did have a jury that came through and said that, you know, he was found guilty of that crime. So, you know, obviously I do have to take that into account. But anyway, I was saying he seems like a different person now. And the one thing about Mike Tyson is he will say that he does regret a lot of his past, and not necessarily the rape thing, because he still denies that. But anyway, back to the point is that we're all in the same boat. And it does upset me that we do have a lot of people in this country that hate somebody like me because I just don't like Donald Trump. Again, I don't randomly dislike Donald Trump because because I just don't like him. I know who this guy is. And he continues to be this guy to this day. To this day, he continues to be the same guy. An egotistical maniac who only cares about the adulation and love that he gets. And if you don't love him and you don't give him the adulation, then you are his enemy. And he has created a country full of followers and flying monkeys that will go after you if you don't give him the adulation and the love that they give him. And I find that sad, and I find that pretty pathetic. Let's go back to more of the comment. You speak a lot like David Pakman. Actually may become more middle ground because that's why the left lost. Honestly, no, I'll tell you why the left lost. there's a few reasons why they lost, but there's one main reason and one main reason only why Kamala Harris lost this election. She lost this election, and I've said this numerous times. The right-wing propaganda machine is too powerful in this country because this election had nothing to do with policy. If it had something to do with policy and politics, Donald Trump wouldn't even be able to run for president because he had zero policy. Zero. Tell me his policies. What were the policies that Donald Trump ran on? And the only one I can remember is he's going to lower your egg prices. But when he got elected, you know what he told us? Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do it. So other than that, what policy did he run on? I can name 10 policies that Kamala Harris ran on. But because of the right-wing propaganda media, you still have people who say, yeah, and by the way, more than half of the people say this are lying, and this is not true, but there might be a small faction of people who actually said, I used to be a Democrat, but they just got too crazy. Okay, well, let's say that that's true. Let's go with that person. Let's go with the person who says, I used to be a Democrat, but they just got too crazy. This is where the right-wing propaganda media is so powerful and so strong because they've made these people think that the Democrats, as we've discussed already, have what they call open borders. I've said this a million times. The immigration thing wasn't even in the top 10 things that I would vote on. And do you know why? Because the immigration thing has been an issue for decades, and it's never been anything that I voted on in the past. It wasn't when I voted in 2020. It wasn't when I voted in 2016, 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, and so on. Never brought up the border once. And there's been border problems ever since. Sure, you could bring up that there's been more border people at the border than ever before, but I will tell you this, it's not absolutely outrageously, ridiculously more than it's ever been in this country. It's not like there was, I don't know, say 1 million people at the border one year, and there's now 55 million now. I know that that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, the border has never been anything that I voted on, ever. And it shouldn't have been anything that you voted on because no immigrant in this country is affecting your life. Not one. And they have you thinking that immigrants are coming in here and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are giving them free hotel rooms and food and clothes. And that doesn't exist. There might be a very small fraction of people who they let into this country temporarily because their situations were so dire and so awful that maybe even somebody that's against immigration. You know what? In fact, you know what I hear all the time? Did you even visit the border? Did they even visit the border? Has Kamala Harris or Joe Biden ever been to the border? First of all, I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to do. Let's say they go to the border. Now what? What am I supposed to think? That turn them away, get them the fuck out of here? I don't know what that means. But I got another question for you. So if we're going to question, have you ever been to the border? Let me ask you this question. Have you ever talked to the people who are crossing the border? And have you heard their stories? Have you ever wondered why they are dying to come into this country? Why they are desperate to come into this country? Have you talked to those people? Because the people that are here, maybe being put up in some hotel rooms, the very low percentage of people that are, their stories are so awful and so dire that maybe the small human part of you might listen to it and go, all right, maybe I understand now. So have you talked to any of the people trying to cross the border? I don't want to hear anymore about, have you been to the border? Okay, yeah, I've been to the border. Now what? Have you talked to the people that are coming across the border and why they are so desperate to be here? They have you thinking that it is a bunch of people coming over here and just murdering girls who go to college who are out jogging. I brought this point up before. Can you name anybody that has been a victim of somebody crossing the border from a crime? I sure can, Laken Riley. Yep. I'm going to give you that one. Okay, can you name another one? Duh. You can't. And see, to me, that's disgusting when you take the case of this horrible, terrible thing that this horrible, terrible human being did to that young lady, that you're using this now as a reason why all immigrants need to be kicked out of this country. That's disgusting. And how you can take yourself seriously, or how you're asking anybody else to take you seriously. Because unfortunately, that's not even your thought. That's a thought that's been put in your head. You would have never have thought that all immigrants should have been kicked out of this country because of Laken Riley. The reason why you think that is because Marjorie Taylor Greene goes to the State of the Union address dressed like a fucking Fridays employee, like she's a waitress at TGI Fridays with buttons and hats. And I mean, come on, guys, that's disgusting. But the other thing, what I was saying, is they also have you thinking that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, and all the Democrats care more about boys playing in girls' sports than egg prices, than gas prices, than milk prices. I can't even tell you how stupid this is. And as somebody, again, who's been following this for 25 years, there are people who literally want to argue with me that this is a main topic for Democrats, liberals. It's not. It's not a main topic. The one thing I will say that the Democrats did a bad job of is not deflecting from it. They allowed, in a sense, for this ridiculous narrative to continue. Now, they tried. Kamala Harris, by the way, didn't mention it one time running for president. And in fact, there were other people running for office who said, listen, this is not our main topic. I don't even know what you're talking about. I played a clip last week in a Senate hearing or a congressional hearing, one of the two. They were talking about sports gambling, and they had somebody from the NCAA up there. And of course, the Democrats were questioning them about actual sports gambling. You know what all the Republicans, not all of them, but you know the ones who needed to be on the Sean Hannity show and clips on Fox News and get their, what do you call those viral moments on President Musk's Twitter. They all said they were hammering the guy about girls or boys and girls sports. So finally, Dick Durbin said, can I ask you how many college athletes there are? He said approximately 510,000. I said, well, can you tell me of those athletes, how many of them were boys who transitioned into girls? He said under 10. I did this last week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's under 10. Which, again, I asked, get the calculator, and I am going to divide 9 divided by 510,000. I don't know if my calculator will even calculate this low. Oh, it did. Okay, so the percentage of boys playing in girls' sports on the collegiate level is 0.000176470,588. Now, I don't know if that percentage is big enough for you to vote against Kamala Harris. First of all, Kamala Harris has zero to do with boys playing in girls' sports in the collegiate level. The Democrats have nothing to do with it. The NCAA is their own entity. They can do what they want to do if they want to do it. This has nothing to do. It's the same thing when you guys keep bringing up the First Amendment and freedom of speech. Well, what about Twitter taking off Donald Trump off of Twitter? The freedom of speech, the First Amendment, is protected by government rule, not by private entities. A private entity can do whatever the fuck they want to do. They want to take Donald Trump off, they can take Donald Trump off. Elon Musk, President Musk, has banned numerous people from his Twitter because of things he didn't like what they said. So where's the First Amendment people there? You guys are mixing up way too many things. You don't know what you're talking about when you're talking about them. And this is why Kamala Harris lost, because we have so much disinformation out there, and we have so many people out there who have zero understanding of the difference between fake policy and actual policy. Kamala Harris's policies would have been way better for this country than anything Donald Trump and President Musk can come up with. How do I know this? Economists say it. Professional economists. You always say, I say, ask, here's proof. Where's proof? I got proof for you. More economists have said that Kamala Harris's plans for this country would be better economically than anything Donald Trump came up with. Who am I going to believe? Fucking cat turd on Twitter? Or am I going to believe laureates? What are they going? Nobel laureates. People who are awarded for what they do in their field. And these are economic Nobel laureates. All came to the conclusion that Kamala Harris's plan is better for the economy than anything that dipshit can come up with. And if you read the book, Lucky Loser, as I've asked 9 times already in this particular podcast, you're going to look back and go, uh-oh, maybe he's not as smart as I thought he was. Maybe he's not the genius businessman I thought he was. And unfortunately, there's been enough people out there to tell you that Donald Trump is a shit business person, had no idea what he was doing. But you know what? Here's the problem. This goes back to the Mike Tyson thing. Mike Tyson was more entertaining, so more people rooted for him, even though he was a terrible person. Donald Trump, more entertaining. But that's why people root for him. Because even though he's a terrible person, because of the entertainment value. So Kamala Harris lost this election because people care more about the entertainment value now than they do actual policy. They care more about trolling the libtard than they do their own interest. Now, some people may care about it. Some may not even care about it, which those are the ones I'm really scared about. I'm really frightened by the ones who said, I don't really care what happens to the Donald Trump if he wins presidency and he becomes president. I don't even really care. As long as I see those liberal tears, I'm happy. Imagine how stupid that is. And again, I'm saying this, and there might be people out there laughing, going, that's hilarious. I don't think people understand. People don't know. There are too many people in this country who don't understand the importance and separating what is going on politically and the entertainment side of it. This isn't sports. Sports is a different thing. Like, I refuse to watch sports talk anymore anyway. When Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee are our 2 biggest stars, we're in big trouble. But this isn't sports. Like, you could sit there and have your stupid sports arguments. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day who's right and who's wrong. It does matter who's right and who's wrong on this one. And unfortunately, we've turned politics into Jerry Springer and WWE wrestling. That is what Fox News did. That's what Donald Trump came in and did. And now that's what President Musk is coming in and doing. And it's not going to turn out well for this country. Now, if I'm wrong, I welcome you at some point to come back and say, see, our gas prices are $1.50. Ha. Our egg prices are 99 cents a dozen. I don't know. What's low egg prices? I really don't know because I don't buy eggs. Milk's $1.99 a gallon because of Donald Trump. I've asked this before. Nobody, not one person can tell me what Donald Trump did his first term to make gas prices and egg prices and wait, let me back up. Nobody can tell me actual facts about what Donald Trump did to make gas prices low. You know what they'll bring up? The XL pipeline. What? You have no idea what you're talking about. If you're telling me gas prices are low because that had something to do with the XL pipeline that we drilled when Donald Trump was president, that's why gas prices were lower. You have no idea what you're talking about. None. And if you're watching this and you think that that's the reason why gas prices were lower, do yourself a simple Google search. Although, again, I know in this country, you know, it's the fucked up thing. You're not even allowed to trust Google anymore. Google's in bed with Joe Biden and the liberals and Democrats. So I need to know, where do you guys get your news? What is the real news? Because I'll ask a lot of people, where do you get your news? And a lot of people will avoid the conversation altogether. They'll never answer it because they're embarrassed. Or they'll lie and say the BCC or BBC or PBS, or, you know, they'll say something ridiculous. Reuters, I hear a lot. They get their news from. They don't get their news from that. Trust me. I promise you, everybody that says dumb shit like gas prices were low under Donald Trump because of the Keystone Pipeline and because of drilling, they don't get their news from any legitimate source. They get it from Joe Rogan. They get it from Dan Bongino. They listen to Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and all these wackadoos who, again, they know the innuendo game. They know how to use it. Joe Rogan's just a fucking moron altogether, but he has been indoctrinated. So with his indoctrination, he regurgitates things that are just so outlandishly stupid that sometimes he's corrected, sometimes he isn't, but it's those sometimes he isn't, when he isn't corrected, that sucks and is scary. But even when he is corrected, it doesn't matter, because some people just still like to hear what he said the first time, and they're just going to run with it anyway. They don't care. People don't care about facts anymore. And that's why the Democrats lost, because facts in this country do not matter. If this was policy and politics only, Donald Trump, first of all, would have been in. He would have been first. He would never became president the first time, ever. Just, there's no way. But let's just say he snuck in. Let's just say the first time that he resonated with people, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just give this guy, he's an outsider. Let's give him a shot. He gave it a shot. He was terrible. And not as terrible as he's about to be, because back then there were some guardrails that prevented him from being absolutely atrocious. But where he wasn't terrible was with the economy. They're like, oh my God, Brian on Black and White is admitting that he was good for the economy. Not admitting that. What I'm admitting is that he didn't really do anything. He just let an economy that was already on an upswing continue to do what it was doing. I am hoping that that's what he does in this administration. The unfortunate part of it is that people are going to give him credit, and he's going to take full credit for an economy that he is taking over that is already great. And again, a lot of you don't understand this, MAGA people, I should say. They don't understand how great the economy is right now. They don't understand the difference between what economy is and what egg prices are. Those are two totally different things. We are the number one economy in the world. It's not even close, especially post-COVID. Since COVID, we have dominated on our recovery in the economy. Dominated. We are the envy of other countries. That includes China and obviously Russia. Dominated. But people don't understand this. You know what they understand? They understand Democrats love transgender people more, and that they're letting immigrants into this country without any checks and balances, and they're allowing them to come in and give my son or daughter opioids, and they are murdering and raping my daughter and my nieces and mothers. And that's what they understand. But the problem is there's no proof of any of this. None. You're really going to vote based on 0.00000716834727, if I got those numbers right, which I didn't. But if you're voting on that, you shouldn't be voting anymore until you understand why you're voting. You gave away your vote based on that. You gave it away based on transgender, immigrants, and the economy. You were wrong on all three. Wrong. Period. End of story. You weren't right on any of them. And you're going to find that out if they get their way with everything. The good news is they may not get away with all the stuff they want to get away with. And the reason why is because Joe Biden did a phenomenal job of appointing numerous judges across the country that will go to federal courts and be in federal courts for either a good length of time or be overturned to where he won't be able to get some of his policies through. And hopefully we can sustain this for 2 years and people wake up in 2 years and vote in the Democrats for House and Senate. Now, I want to just reiterate, the vote blue no matter who. I know those are the kind of corny things that people say, and these are the sort of corny things that I have to listen to. And instead of having intellectual discussions with people, I'm having discussions with people who use terms like cope and cuck and beta and just corny things like this that mean nothing. But it's not a vote blue no matter who. This, again, this is different. This is a different ball game. We're not playing with Republicans versus Democrats. We are playing, in my opinion, Americans versus somebody that wants to really start an authoritarian regime in this country. And that's how I feel. And I feel strongly about that. And I do believe that we need to do something about it. Let's finish off with some more of the comments. Let's see. You did just admit that about the podcasters such as yourself. Now, again, yeah, I mean, I'm not really on the same level. I really wish I was. And I brought up my subscribers, and I don't know how many of you subscribed yet, but please, if you could, I would really appreciate subscribers. The one goal I really want to hit is 1,000. That's what I want to hit. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm more than halfway there. So if you guys can help me out with that I would appreciate. And I see, a decent amount of people watching now. So if you could just hit that subscribe button or the like button, comment, that helps a lot too. Just some advice if you want to make some money. I will say I do this because I do have a passion for it. When I started this, I didn't say to myself, how am I going to make money off of YouTube? I grew up wanting to be in, and I'm going to tell you this little story, and it's not a big deal, but I grew up wanting to be in like TV and radio. But when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of confidence in that. So I just let that go. And I never really pursued that dream of doing it. So anyway, something like this, long story short, something like this, YouTube came along. And I said, you know what? This is something that I can do and at least satisfy that thing that I've always said that I'd wanted to do. And I'm not doing that now for any kind of money. Now, if something somehow comes along from that, that's great. But I'm doing it because it does satisfy something that I've always said that I wanted to do in my life and never really did it because I didn't have the confidence of doing it. I just didn't feel, right about doing it. But I got to a point in my life where I'm like, what the fuck? Why can't you do it? Anybody can do anything. And, I truly believe that. I believe that anybody out there that wants to do something, whether it's on a small scale like this, and people criticize you and laugh at you and tell you you're terrible, who gives a fuck? It doesn't matter. I enjoy doing this. I sit in front of this microphone and I get to have conversations with Lil Philosophy and Angel North and anybody else that comes into the comments. I get people who are actually watching. Some people actually comment and compliment. Some people comment and say you suck. But none of it matters because this is satisfying something that I've always wanted to do. And I enjoy doing it. And I enjoy whether it's in front of one person, 10 people, 50 people, doesn't really matter. So, but I do appreciate the advice. What you think about Stephen A. Smith, bro, and Shank? Both of them condemning Reddit. I can't stand either one of them. Let me just tell you something about Cenk Uygur. I do not agree with him at all. I don't care. This guy thinks he's the voice of the left. I assure you he's not. Cenk Uygur is an attention whore. He is a far left nutbag. And again, there are far left nutbags the same way there are far left or far right nutbags. The problem as I see it, there are way more crazy people on the right than there are on the left. Again, far left crazy nuts, and Cenk Uygur is one of them. And Cenk Uygur is an attention whore. This guy goes around and he basically says, I have the largest platform for the left and I speak for the left. And I was like, no, you don't, dude. You don't speak. You speak for yourself, just like I speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody. I don't speak for Kamala Harris. I don't speak for the left. I don't speak for Jon Stewart. I speak for myself. People always try to hit me with, when Jon Stewart came back, his first show, bashed Joe Biden, basically his first show back to the Daily Show. I disagreed with basically the whole show. I don't fall in line because Jon Stewart says something or Cenk Uygur says anything or anybody says anything. I feel like I do my own research and I make my own determined based on that research, not based on what somebody else says. That's not to say that I'm not influenced by some things that people say. There are plenty of things Jon Stewart has said in the past where I'm like, holy shit, that is fantastic. And those are things that I will adopt in some of the things that I think if I agree with it. But when I agree with something, it's based on research that I did, not just because somebody says something. I don't allow somebody to be my daddy like people do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump says it, it's gospel. Donald Trump does it, it's perfect. You say that Donald Trump did something bad? No, he didn't. But Hunter Biden did something bad? Yes, he did. Oh, okay. So everything the left and Joe Biden and Hunter Biden did, bad, illegal. Lock them up. Hillary, illegal. She killed people. Zero proof of that, but there are people who go around, call her Hillary because they are convinced that she had people murdered. There's zero proof of it, but Donald Trump has been in court and has been found guilty and liable. Did he do it? No, didn't do it. It's not me. I don't do that shit. If Barack Obama did exactly what Donald Trump did and was found guilty in court, I would say he's guilty. I'm not going to sit there and just go, it's Obama, I love him. I'm just going to fall in line and just fight till the death and just argue and make my whole life worth over some guy who doesn't give a shit about you. You're sitting there arguing and to the death about this guy who doesn't care about you. I mean, it just makes all these people look so foolish. I've said this before. It's not a particular person I need to win. I need that person to win if that person has the same ideals and has the same things that I think about and the same morals, the same everything. That's who I need to win. I need the ideas to win, not the particular person to win. You guys need that person to win. That person has to win. Do you know why? Because he's going to make libtards cry. That's why I need him to win. That's so fucking stupid. Elon could be Speaker of the House, which he then places him the third in line to the president, Brian. Yeah, but he can't still legally be president because he wasn't born here. Again, these are semantics that, first of all, are never going to happen. Elon's not going to be Speaker of the House. Elon is very comfortable in his position right now of being president. Elon knows that he can control everything he wants to control by owning the largest social media platform in the world. I don't even listen to Musk at all. You're going to have to. Little philosophy here pretty soon. The divorce for the Democrats has started. Time to pay alimony. There's been some infighting, definitely in the Democratic Party, which isn't surprising because whenever somebody loses an election, there's always infighting. When Donald Trump lost the election, he went so crazy that he started fighting and he started people fighting. And then it just blew up ridiculously. When the Democrats lost in 2016, there was infighting. When Obama won, there was infighting when Mitt Romney lost. So that's typical. And there's always sort of an autopsy on not necessarily what they did wrong, but what can we do differently? And that's sort of the approach I think that the Democrats need to take, is they need to figure out what they need to do differently. And a large part of that is going to have to start building an ecosystem that will somewhat rival the right-wing ecosystem, which they never will be able to match. It just will never happen. But here's the thing. The good news is that I've said this before. Democrats and their ecosystem, the left ecosystem, media, people in the people in Congress, people on podcasts, whatever, they pale in comparison to the right wing, and they'll never match it. Never. However, again, this is my opinion. The left is going to speak truth to everything. They're going to speak truth to the lies that are constantly being spewed by the right through their innuendo and sometimes just straight out lying. Fox News, they'll tell you about it. $57 million worth. They'll tell you about it. And that wasn't even a ruling. That was a settlement. They settled for that money. You know why? Because they knew, A, they could probably lose more, and B, the bad shit that was going to come out during that trial is something that they wanted nothing to do with. So they will flat lie to you and hand over $757 million, or they will use innuendo. But the Democrats have something in their corner, and that is the truth. They can combat these lies, and that's what they need to do. And I've seen it time and time again. When you go in and you combat these lies to their face, they will back down because they know they've got no other place to go. They just don't. They can only spin for so long, but the truth always wins. If somebody daily went on to Fox News or Joe Rogan and sat in their studios and combated the fact that Democrats' main focus, their top 20 main focuses aren't even boys and girls sports, they could have knocked that out a long time ago. They could have knocked out open borders a long time ago. But unfortunately, for too long, they allowed this to manifest and fester. And now it's become reality for so many people. That's something that they have to change. And right now, it looks like they're doing their best to do it. They are using tactics, calling him President Musk. Keep that up. Don't stop. Because I'm telling you, that is absolutely going to come into play at some point. There's absolutely no question in my mind. No doubt about it. I believe the left is more soft-minded, actually. I don't know. I think they were just basically on what I said. I think they were soft when it came to combating the lies. I think in that respect, yes, soft-minded. I'm not sure exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, man, I'd be down. On TikTok, it's just Brian Rundle. You could just look up my name, Brian Rundle, on TikTok, or it might be BRun13. It's one of those two. Little philosophy. It's okay catching up on the comments because I just speak. I remember Fox News was so anti-Islamic back then. It is funny is that you see some of the differences, by the way, between the Reagan and even the Bush Republican Party. They were very pro-immigrant, very pro-immigrant. In fact, they were always looking for ways for more immigrants to come in. Now it's you have a country full of people, or at least half of this country, who are adamant about getting immigrants out of this country. They don't even fucking know why. They have no idea why they want immigrants out of this country other than daddy told them that that's what needs to happen. Now you have President Musk saying, no, we need immigrants to come into the country because they're smarter than these dumb fucks that we have here in this country. They're not smart enough because, as Vivek Ramaswamy said, that they celebrate Zach and Slater over Screech. These people are going to be running our government, by the way. Talking about fucking Zach and Screech and not afraid to say how it is. Considering the education system, they drove the masses to them. Actually, and again, these are just, I'm going to run through these. You're actually creating anger by using such emotional rhetoric when you could be using logical. I think I am using logical rhetoric. I am angry when I say it. There's absolutely no question about it. But I think my rhetoric is logical. Maybe you say what part isn't, but hey, then again, you would get views if you did so. There has to be a balance. That's why I listen to radical podcasts such as this, actually, so I could see that the crazy left and the crazy right things. First of all, I don't consider myself radical at all. I will always come on this podcast and I will say something and I will challenge you to say, show me exactly where I'm wrong. I've given my email address out, runshousepodcast@gmail.com, specifically lay out what I said and where I was wrong. I have no problem doing that, and then we can research it together. But what you're saying, what I'm saying is radical. What exactly am I saying is radical? Are you saying that the Democrats do care only about boys and girls sports? Are you saying that Democrats absolutely want open borders and they just allow people in without checking or without doing anything? I know you're saying that because you said that earlier, which is absurd because that doesn't happen. My dad, yes, but he doesn't like how they're being babied. Again, where are you seeing that? I gave you my email address. Show me specifically where you see that. And by the way, the one thing I'm not going to listen to, because a lot of people on the right do this, they like to cite a House committee report. Now, I will tell you one thing that I promise you I do not do. If I do a research about something good about the Democrats, if a Democrat is in office, let's say like now Joe Biden is, if I'm doing the research and the first thing I see is from the White House, I don't even read it because of course it's going to be biased. It's going to be biased based on who's in the White House. Same thing with anything that says House committee. If you see House something on it, don't bother sharing it with me because these are the same people like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. They're in the House. If you think I'm going to trust one fucking thing they have to say, you're out of your goddamn minds. Stop being on the emotional basis, and that doesn't save a country. Stop. If you cannot run a country, you can only destroy it. Yes, my Native American sisters, because they're being trafficked. And are you suggesting that this is a Joe Biden and Kamala Harris issue and that no girls have ever been trafficked into this country or out of this country or anything to do with trafficking in this country? It didn't start until 2021. Is that what we're saying? Okay. The Tohono O'odham border is open. You don't know the struggles in the Southwest at all. Okay, I'll tell you what, I will research that after the show. And the missing indigenous American people, unless you explain more. The Democrats haven't done a good job at all. That's why they lost. They fucked up. I disagree with you. I told you my TikTok. Okay, you found it. Okay, good. I always notice how salesmen never disclose they're actually in the insurance sector. What does that mean? I'm not in insurance. I think you've said that to me before, but I'm not in insurance. I don't know why you say that. Fox Live, Fox News, CNN, and PBD podcast. Oh my God. Is that Patrick Bet David? Actually, and if you ever went on oh my God. Patrick Bet David, that is somebody that we're getting our news from. Okay. Pac-Man got cooked on PBD. He absolutely did not. I watched that entire episode, and Patrick Bet David had no idea what he's talking about. And by the way, do you notice on these podcasts, they always have 4 guys against 1 on those podcasts. There's always got to be somebody else that jumps in. And his little sidekick next to him actually was agreeing with David Pakman more than he was agreeing with Patrick Bet David. It was a very good podcast for David Pakman. In fact, it was one of the first times I saw David Pakman. That's what drew me to his show, because he was so fucking good on that show. It was like about 1.5 years or 2 years ago, but you are absolutely incorrect. David Pakman was brilliant on that. Come on, I'm not talking about a economy lecture from a salesman. The economy is the economy. It's not a lecture. It's an opinion. The news about the economy and what come from economists, it's not an opinion. Now, there are some opinions on how the economy could go based on some of the policies. There are opinions on, whether this is good, this is bad. There are some opinions on the economy, but when we're talking solid economic numbers, there is no argument there. Those are just solid facts. People in insurance, again, are you saying I'm in insurance? So I'm going to skip that because I don't know what you're talking about. No, you can get those numbers right. We don't want the Democrats back. They failed us. That is absolutely not true. I completely disagree with you there. Geez, I'm sorry, guys. You probably are bored with this. If you're bored, check out. I get it. I feel the Biden administration was actual authoritarian regime. Actually, in what way? How were they authoritarian? See, this is where I'm talking about. This is people have made these judgments about things that have absolutely zero merit to it. How Joe Biden was one of the best working class presidents that we've ever had in our lifetime. How in any way was he authoritarian? I liken him subbed. Oh, all right. Well, never mind. You're a good man, little philosophy, and anything bad that I said about you, I take back. And I hope you did not, as the comments go on, say, fuck you, that I unsubscribed because you're an asshole. I would appreciate if you say subscribe, please. Thank you. Think you can make entertainment nowadays. You'd be perfect for the narrative. Well, thanks, but you really do deserve more viewers. My God, now you're my best friend. I appreciate that. I really do. Yep, me and you and John Stewart and Sank, along with Bill Maher. Good thought, Angel. I'm sorry I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm sure what I said was a good thought because her and I, we're on the same page. I love Angel. So you said you have to agree with everything with the candidate, not the person. So you admit that your emotions evoke over your logical stance due to most likely a narcissistic experience. No, I just have certain values and I have certain criteria in which I think a candidate should possess when they're running for the highest office in the land. And a guy who is a phony business person, who is one of the dumbest people I've ever heard in my entire life, who had zero experience in politics, who had zero experience in, international politics, anything, and has done all of the awful things that he has done, is not my idea of somebody who should be representing the United States. I don't think he should be representing the local publics here in our area. He shouldn't be representing anything. He's a terrible human being, as I brought up earlier. Wait a second. Didn't the Democrats lie to us about January 6th? Absolutely not. January 6th. Again, I absolutely am not having a discussion with anybody that tells me that January 6th was not a real thing, that somehow that the government was involved in it, somehow that it was a tourist attraction, somehow Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. This is not a discussion I'm having, a discussion or a debate I'm having with anybody. This is something that I saw with my own two eyes. And then when I saw it with my eyes, that registered to my brain. And when it registered to my brain, I started to think about what they actually did and what the ramifications were of that particular day. And the conclusion that I came up with is there's no fucking way you're going to change my mind about Donald Trump's role on January 6th and how it's one of the worst things that has ever happened to this country. That's not happening. I don't care if you get on my TikTok and we debate it. I'm not having that discussion with anybody because this is something I've already made my mind up about. You can call it arrogant, you can call it short-minded, you can call it whatever you want to. I am just here to tell you January 6th is not something I'm having a discussion with anybody about as to whether it was not a bad thing or really not as bad as people made it out to be. That's not a discussion I'm having. Sorry. But I thought you just said open borders doesn't exist. Your emotional rhetoric is radical. All right. Hey, Little Philosophy, I do have to end it. So I'm just going to read through these last few comments. So let's say goodnight. I do appreciate all of your comments. I asked you before, I couldn't say nothing. And you couldn't say anything. You couldn't say nothing. Again, these are just, I'm catching up on the last few. This is why we have to debate. Don't be scared at all, dude. I'm not scared at all. Trust me, I can tell you. I'm not scared, but never want to unsubscribe. I do appreciate that. You have been a good contributor to the comments here. That certainly helps too. And even then, I do appreciate, you coming in. I do appreciate anybody just sitting back and watching and commenting. Tell me I'm terrible. Tell me I'm good. Tell me I'm okay. Doesn't matter. The fact that anybody takes their time to sit here and listen to my nonsense is fantastic. But I gotta put a reminder. Pelosi said she has full responsible for January 6th. That's not true. That's been debunked. Before you want to continue that conversation, do yourself a favor and just do a simple Google search and say, did Nancy Pelosi take full responsibility for January 6th? I did not even do that Google search, and I can absolutely tell you that you could find that was easily debunked. We're good. Yeah, I get it. I'm drunk, bro. Hey, man, it's almost New Year's. And it's one of those times, it's that weird thing where Christmas is on Wednesday. So, did people go to work on Thursday and Friday? Did they go back to work today? Did anybody else go back to work today? Or are you just taking the last few days off until the weekend? Because if so, you know what? Drink it up, and have fun. And oh no, I love it. And I saw her say in a video, again, I know what video you're talking about, but it's taken out of context, just like Fox News has done their entire years of being in. And again, innuendo is working on people. That's the problem in this country. The innuendo has worked, and it is killing the brain cells of people in this country. Now, Little Philosophy, I will say you seem like a smart guy, and you seem like you are open to having discussions and learning things. Right now, you said you're drunk. That's fine. So I'm going to attribute it to your intoxication, that you're a little bit out of whack on these things. But here, let's wrap it up. Angel, Little Philosophy, thank you so much for your comments. I really do appreciate that you come into the show. I appreciate anybody. I see that we have a good amount of people that are tuning in here. Let me go to Instagram, see if anybody tuned in on Instagram. Not too many on Instagram, so but that's okay. But there was plenty of people that tuned in, and I appreciate anybody that tuned in. So listen, what do we have? We have 5 days until 2025, and here's my hope for everybody in 2025. My hope is that everybody finds a way to start to reel back and to understand where we have become as a society. Forget about Democrat, forget about Republicans. Where we have become as a society is it's where we've almost been programmed to not like each other. And that's not a place I want to be in. Now, I will tell you, if you are somebody that espouses rhetoric towards immigrants, towards marginalized communities, towards women, towards me, then I have no interest in having what do we call the kumbaya moment with you. But what I am open to is I'm open to having a rational and reasonable discussion about politics and about the future of our country. And I hope that somehow the people who have had relationships that have been broken because of politics, I will admit my own self that I grew up with a large group of friends that, at some point it felt weird, but I reached out to them. And these are people that I grew up with. And I'm not talking about friends for the last 5-10 years. I'm talking about people I went to elementary school with, and I've known them for 35 to 40 years. And some of these relationships started to feel fractured, and that makes me sad. And these people were my friends and had become my friends for a very long time. And, that's something that I was very proud of. And the fact that I still have the communication and the relationship with these people is something that I was very proud of. And the good news is that we don't talk about this too much together. So because of that, I have made it a point to reach out, and they've reached out to me, and we have come to the conclusion that we are still close friends, and that we are still somebody, that values the relationships. And I hope that family members and friends can kind of get to that same place. Now, if you have people in your life that are just completely toxic, maybe it's best that you don't have them in your life anymore. And I have learned, I've learned over these last, 6 months or so, that finding ways to improve yourself is the most important thing you can do. I read this book just recently, just got done with it. And I promise you, if you get this book, and I'm not talking about Lucky Loser, but I still say, please get that book, but get this one first. The name of the book is Don't Believe Everything You Think. And this book, in a way, may change my life. I don't want to say it's changed my life, because I just finished reading it about 3 weeks ago. And I have subscribed to so many of the things that this book says and the gist of the book. And I'm telling you, it's a little over 100 pages. You could probably end this book within 48 hours. I read the first 65, 70 pages in the first day. And basically the gist of this book is, your thoughts sometimes get in the way of what you're really feeling. And it can ruin so many of the things that you love or so many of the things that you want to do. Quick example. If you say, I want to start a business, your excitement is, I've got the business, I want to start it. That's your initial thought. That is what your first inclination is that I want to start a business. And then what happens when you start thinking about starting that business is that you start to get in your mind the reasons why you can't. And then it ruins any chance of you doing the things that you wanted to do. I brought up earlier about how I was insecure about doing anything like this. And there was something that I knew that I could do it, but I never got it off the ground and never started doing it. But I'm just telling you, this book resonated a lot with me. And because of that particular book, I started looking more into some more philosophical books and things on how to improve my mental state. And I think that's important. That's just something that I wanted to throw out before I went. and said, I hope everybody has a great 2025. When we're going to be on next week, I'm not exactly sure, but, hit the notification bell or just check in. If you did subscribe to the show, kind of check in and see if we're on. And then after that week, we should get back on our normal schedule. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I normally do the show with Lana Quest. She is I'm the white, she's the black of the show. And she has a lot of great insight, and that she has a different perspective on, and I think different perspective from all different kinds of people is an important thing. And that's how I've learned so many of the different things that I've learned. And this is where I've gotten my values, and the way I've grown up and thought about things is getting different perspectives from different people that I would never be able to experience. And I think that's important, that everybody should be able to do that. Let's close it up. Hell yeah. Amazing show. Thank you, Little Philosophy. Night, Brian, Angel. Thank you so much. Hope everybody will be okay. All faiths, nationalities, or gangs, but damn it, things happen and we can't avoid it all. Great message, boss man. I'll get both. Gotcha. And Angel says, I hope in 2025 people learn to open their minds and hearts and learn to listen and just respect each other if you don't agree. And finally, I remember she was laughing at me. But anyway, guys, 2 hours and 35 minutes. I can't believe I rambled on this long, and I apologize for anybody who sat through this and was annoyed by me. I hope not. I would assume the next time you see me, the Christmas tree is going to be down, because normally I take it down the day after Christmas. Hopefully you at least enjoyed the tree. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lil Philosophy and Angel, for participating tonight. Anybody else that subscribed to the show and liked it, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And I hope you come back and join us again and interact. And if you have any particular things that you want to talk about, or you want to prove me, happy 2024, y'all, and happy 2025. But if there's anything that you want to point out to me that I got wrong, I am happy to do the research, and I promise you I'll admit that I'm wrong if I was. Again, happy 2025 to everybody. I wish everybody the best year, and we'll see everybody again next time. Thank you for joining. Good night, everybody.